Namaste and good evening, everyone. I, Dr. Nidhi Shendurnikar, take this opportunity to welcome all our participants for this second last session of our fourth edition of online 2-week National IKS certificate course on the storytelling legacy of Bharat, understanding how stories shaped and sustained an ancient civilization. We started this certificate course on 16th of March, and we have covered a variety of aspects of storytelling, especially in the Bharatiya traditions, through the sessions that we have had so far. And this is the second week of our course, and we are pleased that we were able to curate these 10 sessions which are dedicated to exploring and appreciating Bharatiya storytelling. And we are also very happy to note that so far we have had such engaging and interesting sessions that makes us want more, that makes us look forward to more of these interactions and exchanges. And on NLD's behalf, I would like to extend gratitude to our collaborating institution, BRB College of Commerce, Raichur, Karnataka, who are our collaborating partners for this particular certificate course. The team from the BRB College of Commerce, the convener, Sri Sandeep Karabhariji, principal, the patrons of this course, Dhaval Joban Putraji and Chetan Dhokaji, welcome. And if you are here, any of the members of the college are here, we extend our thanks to your team. And along with me, Dr. Vikas Rajpopat, who is the course co-coordinator and moderator from Team NLD. And we also have Zelam Tambe, one of our resource persons who has efficiently helped us manage the chat interactions through all the sessions. So let's begin today's session. And tomorrow, when we close the certificate course, I will be providing a summary of all the sessions that we have had so far. And just a quick reminder for our participants that we will be compiling some reading material as part of this certificate course, and our admin team will share it with you in the due course of time. Tomorrow, when we close the course, I'll be sharing a feedback form with all of you in the chat box and then in the WhatsApp group that we are all a part of. And we'll be also sharing instructions for a certificate tomorrow itself. So please do not miss any session, especially the last session that we are going to conduct tomorrow. So with this, I extend gratitude and welcome to Dr. Pradyuman sir. Welcome, Pradyuman sir. Namaste to you. And hope you are doing well. And we are all very excited to hear from you in this particular session. Dr. Pradyuman is going to talk about story, wisdom, and values through the pedagogical explorations of Betal Pachisi. And I'm personally very intrigued and curious to understand this storytelling tradition. So before I hand over the floor to Pradyuman sir, I would like to provide a brief introduction to his academic and research profile. Dr. Pradyuman sir has an MA in English Literature, an MPhil in English Language Training, and also a PhD in the same area. He also has a PG diploma in teaching English as a foreign language with a dual specialization in business English and in teaching young learners. He has close to 16 years of experience in teaching, training, and academic leadership. And in the course of his academic career, Dr. Pradyuman sir has worked with different universities where he has looked after both teaching and administrative responsibilities. He completed his MPhil and PhD of task-based language teaching. He has co-authored and authored as well as edited 8 books and multiple research papers published by different national and international journals of repute. As far as his teaching and training expertise is concerned, he has developed task based teaching resources and conducted innovative activity based, gamification based pedagogical tasks during his teaching tenure. It's a long list. So, for example, he has experimented with cricket commentary for teaching, tenses, movie video clip based discussions, TED Talk for note taking, public speeches for life lessons, etc. And he continues to use such innovative methods in classroom, and he has always found this innovative space in the teaching arena where he is making students talk, walk, draw, discuss, laugh, sketch, write, and engage in many other simulated tasks. He has different certifications in teacher training as well as language training from different institutes. He has a certification in teacher support program from ETS Propel USA, PTE Academic Pearson Qualifications International, Cambridge BEC, and teaching phonetics from AP Teacher Training Institute and International TEFL Canada. He has attended and conducted faculty training and corporate training on different topics such as communication skills, personality development, neurobics, time management, goal setting, SWOT analysis, etc. The list is very, very long. And some of the interesting areas of his expertise are academic communication skills, collaborative teaching learning practices, introduction to diaspora literature, classroom communication for teachers, use of English in classroom communication, and a lot more. So, with his expertise in language, literature, communication, classroom teaching, and training, today he will be enlightening us on Betal Pachisi and how this exploration leads us to wisdom and values through the mechanism of storytelling. So, the threads that we have woven in the past 8 sessions in terms of storytelling and in terms of the legacy that Bharat has in storytelling, he's going to add a lot more knowledge and insights to it. And we at NLD are grateful to him for his support and his encouragement to our endeavors always. So thank you, Pradyuman sir, for being a part of this team that is conducting this storytelling course. You are one of our own. So we welcome you and let's begin. I hope I have done justice to your introduction.
Thank you very much, Nidhi. Thank you for this extensive introduction. I think that has built more expectations from the side of participants for this session. I will definitely try my level best to reach your expectations, I would say, and to match what has already been delivered in earlier sessions. Okay, so I will share a screen, and meanwhile, I would let you know the journey or why I decided to explore this. So the organization where I'm teaching at present, every December when we have semester break, so during that semester break, we are asked to assign some field work to final year students. So before they actually enter corporate world or they start exploring job and professional world, they this is our one last attempt to make them realize that whatever you are doing it with society, in society. So then different faculties come up with different themes where we get 30 to 40 students assigned from the side of university. So it's a group of students working with us, and it's multidisciplinary students. So we have students from engineering, students from computer application, students from design and architecture, students from sciences, students from business, students from law, various backgrounds. And then all of them work together on a specific theme. So once we had started working on this theme, and later on, uh, the theme of that research program was changed from the side of university. We in Vadodara 2 years back, we had flood-like situation, and considering that, we were asked to work on resilience and something related to flood. So then we shifted the topic. So this was half research done at that time, which I took an opportunity to explore further. And that's how I'm here addressing as the one of the resource persons in this journey of relating more to Indian way of storytelling, and how there had been history related to it, how this adds value, how it is irrespective of any time frame still applicable, and how we can bring this more to our classrooms. Considering the increasing importance of Indian knowledge systems pedagogically, and considering the weightage given to it in NEP 2020, addressing all of this, what we understand is that we need to include such texts more in our curriculum. So I will be addressing it from the point of view of pedagogy as well. Nidhi, pardon me, there is a parallel program going on and I'm getting call for that. I'll have to receive that call.
Yes, yes, sure. No problem. So, since Dr. Pradyuman sir has spoken to us about pedagogy and Indian knowledge systems, I think it is crucial to understand the role of storytelling in both of these aspects, because, as we have discussed in the previous sessions, the inclusion of storytelling as a pedagogical tool is extremely crucial both at the school level as well as at the university level. And in the first few sessions, if some of you remember, we did have a discussion on how Indian knowledge systems can be taken to students, how they can be made to understand and appreciate it. So, this is an opportunity to talk about different storytelling traditions, not just in terms of understanding these traditions, but also starting to think about how we can incorporate them in the curriculum, not just through the means of Indian knowledge system, but also in different other disciplines. So think about the disciplines that all of you are teaching at the moment and how you can integrate stories. So, for example, in the case of management studies, and I know a few teachers in the domain of management studies, they have included stories from the Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, and other knowledge scriptures such as the Upanishads as a part of their curriculum to make participants and to make their students understand the Indian ethos of management. So this is something that we need to look at. So the pedagogical perspective that Pradyuman sir is going to talk about today, it is very, very important.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
I'm Mary Raymer. I just had a question since you were mentioning about the text for management. I also am quite keen and interested in IKS. So, do you have any list for astronomy as a subject? Because there is only one book by the name of Sushila. I'm not too sure. Only one book is there which we are using as reference. So, can you just, whenever possible, share a list of reference books for astronomy?
Sure,
That's it.
sure. Yes, Dr. Mary, I have your number.
Yeah.
So I'll reach out to you and share some references.
Yeah. Thank you so
Definitely.
much.
You would just need to remind me on WhatsApp and I'll do that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Mary. Yes, Dr. Pradyuman, sir, we can continue.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Nidhi, for this gap filling. Participants, sorry, and let's move forward. So here is the layout of the session. So there are total 4 points that I'm going to address in today's session, making all of us understand what's the background and origin, how we reach exactly Betal Pachisi. So in Hindi, it is called Betal Pachisi. It is also called Vikram and Betal stories. In Sanskrit, it is called Betal Panch Vimshati. So reaching from background to understanding what basic characters are there. These are not the characters of Vetal Panchvimshati, but before that, how exactly we locate Vetal Panchvimshati. After that, we would be moving to addressing 3 or 4 stories from this collection. So first 3 points probably would carry around 25% of the content of today's session. And then we would move to discussing the text in detail. So this is very basic information. I will be addressing this in coming 3 slides. And after that, I will be also providing you kind of a flow chart to make you understand this in a better way. But let us see what exactly it is in terms of its origin. So it's basically Brihad Katha. So it's sea of ocean that we are addressing in a form of Kathasaritsagar, which was produced by Samved in 11th century. But then, Samdev referred to Brihad Katha. So Gunadya's Paishachi dialect written documents that he referred to, which were not compiled properly. So as and when he could collect as many of them, he collected. And there was also a tradition of Shruti and Smruti, as probably would have been addressed in any of the earlier sessions. So from there also, whatever he could gather, he converted it, or I would say he made documentary or documented all of them in Sanskrit language. So it includes translation, it includes preparing documentations in Sanskrit language so that it was available for all of us. So from 1st century till it kept on passing 11th century, and in 11th century finally it was documented in Sanskrit language in form of Kathasaritsagar. Now, why this? Why was this need of documenting it in 11th century? So then at the time of 11th century in Kashmir, we had Anantadev and Suryavati as ruling king and queen. Suryavati, there are other documents where we also come across this name as Suryamati. So maybe any one of them is what we can use, I think. Moving ahead to understand this, so then in the time of King Anantadev, there had been a lot of political upheaval going on, lot of conspiracy, lot of cheating, and lot of border issues, and many other things were going on side by side simultaneously. So that was the time when Queen Suryavati was disturbed a lot. Now, to pacify, to console, to make her feel happy, this was constructed. So that's how the birth of Kathasaritsagar took place. Somdev was a courtly poet and was a knowledgeable person in his area. So he chose a storytelling form to console Suryavati. And that's how in 11th century this got documented. So then this Kathasaritsagar has 11 books which are termed as Lambakas. There are 124 chapters which are known as Tarangas, and there are total 22,000 verses. This probably makes it world's longest or largest storytelling tradition that probably we can address. Now here what we understand is Somdev narrates Kathasaritsagar to Queen Suryavati. So that's how we understand it. So he is narrating these stories to Queen Suryavati. Now, out of these 18 books, the 18th one is Visham Shila. So that Visham Shila is narrated by a character named Narvahan Dutt. And Narvahan Dutt narrates the story of Vaital Panchvimshati. So this is how it goes. So Gunadavya, who was the originator of this in Paishachi language, Somadev translated it into English. The need was to console Queen Suryavati. So he narrated Kathasaritsagar to Suryavati. And out of 18 books, the 18th book, Visham Shila, was narrated by one of the characters in Kathasaritsagar, that was Narvahan Datta. And Narvahan Datta narrated Vaital Panchvimshati. So he narrated Vaital Pachisi. That's what we can understand here. So let us have basic understanding. Here I would like to thank Dr. Nidhi, Dr. Vikas once again, because my session was scheduled earlier, but then after reading all of this, I wanted to have more visual creations for participants. I had been using ChatGPT, Gemini, multiple AI tools, and then I was generating a lot of images so that I could have better images for the session. And then there were limitations of image generation. So I logged in through multiple accounts. Probably I would have generated more than 200 images. And from those images, I think I have taken around 20 for this session. So that's how these images are here. Still, I'm not completely satisfied with all the images. So when we move to stories, I would focus more on the narration and then on the visual. But let us understand this. So we can see here from the top left, we see it's Brihad Katha. Through that's what we got through Gunadavya in Paishachi dialect. And from there, so it's from 1st century till 11th century, we come to the center top where we see Somdev. So Somdev Sanskritizing the Brihad Katha, and then it becomes Kathasaritsagar for us. Now, if we see all different streams going in left and right side, is all kinds of stories involved in Kathasaritsagar. So technically, we understand that it has 18 books and 22,000 verses and 124 chapters. But it not only includes Betal Pachisi, it has multiple other story forms included, which includes stories of kings and queens. It includes stories of gods. It includes folk tales, fairy tales. It includes tales of romance. It includes tales of Nidhi and a lot. So there were multiple purposes associated with different forms, but the way we find Betal Pachisi in a form of 25 stories together, we do not find other forms easily available that way. And they are not named as a collection. So then these are all compiled together. And probably they are yet to be explored to study further. Moving ahead, understanding different streams in Kathasaritsagar. So very first, that's what we are going to address is what I would say, Narvahan Datta. So Narvahan Datta narrates a story. So we see that one person is already narrating story. And in that story, we see another character. So Narvahan Datta is also one of the focused protagonist here, who is narrating story. And then his narration includes Betal Pachisi. So there we come across another strong character, Raja Vikramaditya, right? So it's a story within story within story. That structure that we see, if we think it, if we visualize it from the Venn diagram perspective, it's circle, and you have circle inside, you have further circle inside, you have further circle inside, and then there would be some circles intersecting each other. So that's how it goes further. right? So it includes romantic tales. So then, if we look at all bullet points mentioned in the bottom, we understand that these are the values that probably every human being needs to carry to live a wonderful life, right? So then it includes rationality, it includes emotions, and all other things which technically nowadays we name as emotional intelligence, as political intelligence, as social intelligence, right? So we term it as EQ, IQ. We also say spiritual intelligence, SQ. So all these things were already existing in our culture. So then moving forward, we have Niti stories, we have adventure tales. We see, a lot of students nowadays, or kids, I would say, not students, a lot of kids nowadays reading a lot of adventurous stories. But if we see, our kids know adventures of Tom Sawyer, our kids know adventures of Huckleberry Finn, our kids know such foreign stories, and they are not aware of this. So when I said that we started with the research and when we changed the idea, so then everybody in India knew what Panchatantra is and they were aware of Panchatantra stories. They knew what Mowgli is and stories of Mowgli, right? But when we say Vikram Vetal, so then probably kids' parents could answer that we had seen कि दूरदर्शन पे विक्रम वेताल आता था, वो हमने तब देखा था, right? And this is probably in 1990s when we had seen Vikram Vetal on Doordarshan. But then when we say, ki, is it easily available for kids? The book is available for kids, but then it is not as popular as Panchatantra or any other Indian story form. So I think that becomes all of us, our teachers' responsibility to probably bring this more to students and make them know that this is our rich culture and heritage, which teaches us a lot of things, right? So then it also included trickster tales, love stories. It also included religious stories. So nowadays we say magic realism, and there is mythology in the story. But what we understand out of all of this is what we have to address more and more through these stories. Nidhi, pardon me, I'm getting one more call. I'll have to receive it.
No problem, no problem. So, I think we can also have some discussion points at this moment. So far, in this session and also in the previous sessions, we have explored the storytelling legacies in terms of the different traditions that we already have. So, as I said yesterday, each region in the country will have its own tradition. There are different languages in which stories are written, and what Pradyuman sir just shared struck me because today we are talking about soft skills like emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence, etc. But these were actually taught to us by the storytelling tradition because there was a moral compass to it, a philosophical compass to it, and an intellectual compass to it. So when all of this comes together, you learn the skills that we are probably talking about so commonly in our educational spaces, in the corporate spaces, in the public spaces. These were skills that stories taught to us. So somehow Bharat always has had this legacy. Now the question before us that we have to revive it, because I think Pradyuman sir has very rightly mentioned that our children, our students are exposed more to foreign stories rather than our Bharatiya stories.
Thank you, Nidhi. Hope I'm audible.
Yes, yes, you are
Yeah,
audible.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So moving forward, so this is another character that we need to understand. So Queen of Kashmir, we see here. So I had mentioned earlier that we had King Anantadev ruling Kashmir, and she was married to him. So that's how she was Queen of Kashmir. We also find in some documents her name as Suryamati. Now, if we understand that because of a lot of political upheaval which was going on in Kashmir in 11th century, she was disturbed a lot. We do not find very specific documentation or narration related to her personal life or her family life other than this. But there was a clearly mentioned reason that to console her, to make her feel good, a Kathasaritsagar was constructed. So that's how we understand this. Moving ahead, so then what do we understand relating it to how Kathasaritsagar helped her, right? So it's not just a psychological relief, but what we understand in a form of storytelling is that a sense of escapism from real world for bringing emotional balance. But what we see here in Kathasaritsagar, or to be very specific about Betal Pachisi, we see that there is lot of logic applied. There are 25 stories, but each story has a specific purpose. So then there is logic. At the end of the story, there is question, and the question is to be answered logically, convincingly. There had been similar situations in 2 to 3 different stories out of these 25, but then every time the same logic is not applied. So then we understand that we have to look at it from the point of view of the person who did it, look at it from the point of view of the situation when it was done, and how the decision was taken at that time. So then looking at what is true and what is not, or how the relativity of truth is discussed, is also what we understand through these stories. So this is how storytelling helps us the way it helped Queen Suryavati. Moving ahead, now Narvahana Datta. There are narratives that he is considered an incarnation of Lord Kama. Okay, so Kamdev's rebirth is Narvahana Datta. So that is how he has been established as a character. And then he was son of King Udayan and Queen Vasavadatta. And then to be king, or to be a king whom everybody would appreciate, all kingly beings, his decisions, for that, the term which was used is that he is to be considered a supreme among kings, and for that he is to be Vidyadhar. Now, to be Vidyadhar, he needs to have a lot of knowledge, not just in terms of Niti Shastra or logic, but in terms of religion and other aspects as well. And that is what Kathasaritsagar addresses as a whole. So then, main character of Kathasaritsagar is Narvahana Datta. And then Narvahana Datta is in a journey to find out his wife, Madan Manchuka. And in this journey, he comes across a lot of people, he meets a lot of people, and we come across a lot of adventures, a lot of stories, a lot of cultures, mythology, practices, and a lot of social and psychological aspects as well. Coming back to Kathasaritsagar, so now, okay, I'm again connecting all the dots here. So it's mainframe narrative in which we see Narvahan Datta. Now Narvahan Datta is narrating Betal Pachisi. So that is how we connect it here. And Betal Pachisi has 25 tales where we see a story ending with question, and then question is to be answered with proper reasoning. Okay. Now, there had been a lot of doubts earlier that who is the hero, Narvahan Datta or Vikramaditya, right? So then Vikramaditya, and then there is third question, which I would say is offspring of this, is that how is Betal Pachisi and Sihasan Battisi related? Because in Sihasan Battisi also we see King Vikramaditya, And in Betal Pachisi also we see King Vikramaditya. So then there is no any evidence found that these two are really connected. And then some research papers which I came across also mentions that Sinhasan Battisi is not part of Kathasaritsagar, but Betal Pachisi is, right? So then that is probably a next area that I would be working in future, which equally interests me, Sinhasan Battisi. And I recall probably in my childhood when I was 7, 8 years old, I had seen Sinhasan Battisi movie on Doordarshan again, right? So probably that would be next area to be explored further. Rest of the things we see quite matching the earlier narration, and that's how we understand it, that Naravahana Datta was already ruling, but he wanted to prove himself the best king ever, and the term used is he is supposed to be Vidyadhar. To be Vidyadhar, he needs to pass a lot of tests. Now, to pass tests, so there are a lot of stages to be cleared, a lot of places to be visited, a lot of puzzles to be resolved. And that's what he did. And towards the end, we see, because this is book 18th, Vishamshila. So book 18 is what he narrates. So there we reach finally Vikram Aditya through Vetal Panchvimshati. So what we see here also is a quest that King Vikramaditya was asked for help, and then he was asked to bring Betal so that the person who had asked for it wanted to bring him to someone else. So this is how the story starts. And then in every story, we see that Betal is caught by King Vikram while bringing him out from the dense forest. To pass the time, Betal narrates story, and then there are certain conditions. Vikram answers. Because Vikram answers and the answer is correct, as per the condition, Betal goes back. So he again finds him, catches him. Second story narration starts. He answers with logic, and again Betal escapes. So that's how total 25 stories go on. And on 25th story, Vikram deliberately didn't answer so that this time Betal cannot escape. So that is how it goes. So we come across a lot of aspects here. With all, we can say where we see critical thinking going on, logical reasoning going on. So it's tark, vitark that we see happening. So this, again, I'm repeating this slide here. So it's 1st century Gunadhya has written Brihat Katha. From there in 11th century, Samaved translated it into Sanskrit, named Kathasaritsagar. This was narrated by Samdev to Suryavati. And in Kathasaritsagar, we have Naravahana Datta as one of the strongest protagonists or a central character. In 18th book, Naravahana Datta narrates Vetal Panchvimshati. And here it's visual representation. So the text, as I mentioned earlier, I tried multiple AI tools, converting my text into a proper flow chart. After multiple attempts, I could have this so that it's easy for participants to understand, because visual appeal is definitely resulting into a long-term memory. So this is how we see it, journey passing from 1st century till 11th century, and from 11th century till us now. Okay. So I hope this is clear, and we move to next. So here are two conditions, right? So the conditions that addresses speech and addresses silence. So when King Vikram catches Vetal, if Vetal knows the answer, he has to answer it. Okay, because if he doesn't answer, though knowing the answer, then the condition was Vetal would burst his head into 1,000 pieces. And if he speaks, okay, and the answer is correct, so then his silence, woe for silence is broken. And if that is broken, the Betal becomes free. And that's how he escapes. And this continues for total 24 stories. Because of these two conditions, it continues till 24th story. 25th story itself raises a lot of questions even today when we discuss it. Is it ethical? Is it possible? How can this be possible? What is to be answered here? And probably what we see is that Vikram also doesn't answer it. So that's how it happens. Okay, so now we move to riddles. And here I would appreciate you to participate. We would be going through, I think, 3 or 4 stories here. So first, the question I bring here is, who is woman's true husband? Okay, the one with husband's head or the one with husband's body, right? So let's see. Uh, I would appreciate you focusing more on the narration that I give instead of the image that you see. This is not the only image that can help you understand the story entirely. But if we understand, okay, there is a lady character called Madan Sundari. Now, the original story that we see in the book, the way I read it, it states that Madan Sundari got married. Now, after marriage, so earlier was the time when there is marriage and the entire procession of marriage, we say Puri Bharat, right? So then they travel from one village to another, from bride's village to bridegroom's place, I would say. So Madan Sundari, before marriage, had just seen once face of her husband, to be husband. So she knew who was her husband, right? So she could remember his face clearly. After wedding, now they are moving towards bride's home. So Madan Sundari is, on journey reaching in-laws' place. There they happen to cross a dense jungle. And a troop of dacoits attack them to take gold and whatever wealth they have. Now here, her husband and husband's best friend, both of them fought with robbers so that they could save the gold and wealth. But they failed, and robbers cut their heads. Now, Madan Sundari at that time was shown that she was devotee of goddess Kali. She had never thought of any unfair means or had never committed any sins or had never done anything which is against social norms, against religious norms. So she had been living a perfect life. So she also decided that if my husband is dead, okay, there is no life that I can live for. Now, here we definitely may have a lot of questions when we address this to today's generation and even when we think of. But what we need to understand is that this was written in 11th century. So we have to respect the timeline that it's coming from and the kind of thinking that was existing at that time. The kind of social structure was there at that time. So understanding that, she also decided, because that was the time when actually Sati Pratha was there. So she decided that if my husband is dead, there is no life left for me. I will also cut my head and die. So that was a place where she could see goddess, idol of goddess Kali. So she prayed her and she decided to die. But at that time, goddess appeared. She consoled her and told her that I am happy with your devotion, with the life that you have lived till now, and I am giving you a boon. You please place their heads back, your husband and his friends' heads back, and I'll make them alive. I'll bring them back to life. Now, as I mentioned earlier, that was the time when she was fortunate to see her husband's face before wedding. So she knew who was her husband. So which was her husband's head. So she placed the head close to the shoulder, exact place of the body. So both heads she placed. But without realizing this, and you can imagine a situation, everybody had ran away, husband and his best friend died. In this situation, she was panicking, she was crying, she was regretting, and then she decided to kill herself. In this situation, suddenly goddess appeared and gave her this boon, and she had to place the heads. By mistake, she placed wrong heads. So on body of her husband, she placed head of husband's friend, and on husband's body, husband's friend's body, she placed head of her husband. When both the bodies came alive, at that time she realized that this is what went wrong. And here Betal stops story and asks Vikram to tell that who now can be considered the real husband, or with whom now Madan Sundari should spend her life. So I'm giving this question to participants. If you would like to share something, your opinion, or why would you think what should be done? So the question is, would Madan Sundari live life with a body that has husband's head, or with a body that has husband's body?
Body. Yes, that's
Okay.
quite a tricky question. It's definitely a riddle, and we would love to hear from our participants. So, anyone, quickly, do you want to unmute and respond to this? Share. We can take one or two responses. I want to invite everyone to respond. Okay, Swayamji is saying the answer
Uh,
goes to option A.
hello.
Yes,
Sir, kindly repeat the question. I couldn't hear due to the internet.
Yeah, the question is in the bottom of the slide, if you can read it. Are you able to see the slide?
yes, the slide is visible. You can just read this part, the riddle of the Vitala. Uh, would you go with option A or option B? So we have two responses already. Option A, husband's head.
Head.
Shwetaji and Swayamji both have chosen option A. Any reason, Swayamji, why did you choose option A? Could you tell us, please?
Good evening, sir and ma'am. Actually, I think that we are guided by our brain, whatever we think or whatever we do. That's why she chose. Sorry, the I chose the answer A. And let me speak the truth that actually I have read this story before when I was a kid and I was reading Chanda Mama or Jonna Mamu in Odia. From Odisha, I am. So I have read it, and later I got to know that it was originally written by the 11th century authors, but in these years when I have read it, perhaps it was written by Sri Manoj Das. Many people say that he used to write it in a disguise by changing the name. Actually, that's my, yeah.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you very much. So what we see here, I agree with you, and that's also what the answer is, and what Vikram also answers here, Vikramaditya, that head is what rules the body. Okay. So it's like what we think we do. So our body does it. but before that we think about it. So that's how head rules the body. And that's what we see here as a Kathasaritsagar philosophy or Indian philosophy that we see is that through head we control all senses, right? And that's how body belongs to head. And that's how we see that Madan Sundari should go with option A. And she actually chooses option A, right? So that is what we see. Thank you very
Yeah.
much for your quick response.
Yeah, there is one more hand
Yeah.
raised by Shweta ji. We can quickly take your opinion on this, Shweta ji. Please unmute yourself.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, Shweta ji, you are audible.
Yeah, so likewise, I just resonate with everybody's thought. So, according to me, body follows what our mind tells us to do. So, obviously, until my husband accepts me or I accept my husband mentally, so there's no point of the association. So, yes, accordingly, I go with what everybody says. Thank you.
Great. I think you made a very powerful statement. The association between two people who have to spend their entire lives together is intellectual, mental. So the head is more important, and therefore the choice by Madan Sundari is a wise one.
Thank you, Shweta ji. Thank you, Nidhi. Now let's move to the second one. So the question here for the story is, who is the most responsible for the success of this reunion? Is it's Prince Pratap Sen or minister's son? So now the story here is that Pratap Sen and minister's son are, these two are best friends, and they keep traveling. So once they traveled to a public place where it was a beautiful popular garden recently made open for public by king of a particular place. So then everybody used to visit that place in disguise. So Prince Pratap Sen, instead of announcing himself or hiding his identity as a prince, he and minister's son, both of them, did horse riding to the place, reached there, and were enjoying there. Okay, so it had a lake, it had boating, wonderful flowers, and many other things there. So there they could see a group of girls, and Prince Pratap Sen, liked one girl there. So then they interacted with each other. The girl also had, a lot of things in mind about her to be husband, what all qualities, or he was expecting it to be an intellectual husband. So then, instead of answering questions of Prince Pratap Sen, like what's your name, where are you from, and all such things, she responded in sign language. And that was to be resolved, right? So I am bringing that question as well to our audience here, to participants. So to answer of what's your name, okay, what's your name, what's your village, what's your father's name, or where do you come from, like that, she responded with these 4 signs. So what could this mean? First sign was that she did lotus. She picked a lotus and she kept it to ear. So it's ear plus lotus. Any answer for this? So we might have to think of different names, like what was lotus called in Hindi or in Sanskrit? What was ear called in Sanskrit? So that's how we try to connect it. And maybe we form a word that is an answer. So that might be either her name, her village's name, her father's name, something like that. So similarly,
any responses for the first? I was thinking of Karna Kamal. I mean,
okay.
I don't know, but Kamal and then
Kamal. Huh.
Karan.
And I thought of ma'am Kamal Shravan.
Kamal Shravan. Right.
Okay.
Of course, in Sanskrit it is Shrunoti. The verb is Shrunoti. Correct. Very correct. Who I think Swayamji was responding.
Sir, can it be Karna Padma? Padma, because lotus is also
Okay.
called Padma.
Padma. All right. So Karna Padma.
Okay.
Maybe. All right. So you're still thinking of names.
So we can also start resolving the second, third, and fourth. Lotus.
Third and fourth as
teeth.
well. Yes.
So the third one could be I think
Charan
Pada
Kamal.
Charana Kamal. Yes.
Charan Kamal.
Okay.
Charana Kamal.
Yes. So that seems little easier.
Yes. Hand on heart. Anybody who's trying to guess this? Hand on heart, the fourth one. Anybody? Any
Like-
quick response?
Like
Yes,
we
yes,
call,
Swayamji.
like in Sanskrit we call hand as Pani
Okay.
and heart as Hriday, or I can't guess. Sorry, but hand is called as Pani.
Right. So you can
Okay.
see here, if we ask this to students, so definitely it's not just the storytelling that's happening in the class, but then we are asking them to, apply logic or think of synonymous expressions of these words. So it's also language work that they are doing. It's also logic that they are applying. It's also trying to combining the words that they are doing. They have got some hints, like it's name of a place, name of a person. So name of a girl, name of girl's father. So then they have to think accordingly. So that's how it goes on, right?
Sir, can the father's name be? Can the father's name be Kamal Charan?
Okay, possible. We will see
Yes.
all answers together. Any guess for number 2?
Yeah, I think
Madhukar. Okay.
the second one was the trickiest, I
Hmm.
believe. So Madhukar is the response for which question, Zelam?
That's number 4, I guess. Kar is hath, hand.
Huh. Okay, yeah. Okay, Madhukar. Okay. Yes. Okay. Any responses for number 2, lotus to teeth? Okay, you can also type it in the chat box until the answers are revealed finally. I think that becomes the most exciting juncture of this session where we are revealing the answers. And I agree with Pradyuman sir that this is not just story that is being narrated. This is so much of cognitive thinking, critical thinking, skill building, using your brain, creativity, language skills. So much is happening. Okay. Can second be Padmadanta?
Okay.
Very good. Great answers, I think. We have tried our best.
And see how it helps is that one person answering also adds vocabulary to other person's knowledge. So it's multiple answers and all answers are adding value, adding knowledge to our repository, I would say. Okay, let's look at the answers. So it's city of Karnotpala, so ear and lotus. Daughter of Dantagata, so he is ivory carver. Third is her name, so that is Padmavati. And fourth is where we see that Acha. Okay, so fourth is where she conveys that she has given her heart to him. So it's puzzle for him that he has to find her out. If he is successful in finding her out, then probably she would be ready to marry him. Right? So first is solving these riddles and reaching her, finding her out. is what she indirectly conveyed to him without telling it upfront, face to face, word to word, right? And that riddle was solved by minister's son. So then the question here is, that was asked was, who would be marrying, okay, Padmavati? So is it the prince or minister's son? That is one thing that comes to our mind. And second, what we see here is, who is more intellectual? So is it prince or is it minister's son? So that's how we understand that the answer, though was given by minister's son, it was desire of prince to marry. So definitely prince would go ahead with it. But then who is more intellectual among both of them is minister's son and not the prince. So that's what we get answer for, that who made this actually happen possible. So who made this union possible? Union was made possible by minister's son. So that's what we see here. Let's move to one more. Okay, so here we see who showed the most remarkable character. Okay, the husband, the lover, the thief. Now the situation is that there is a girl in love with somebody, but her marriage was decided by her parents with someone else. So while marrying, she takes a promise from her husband that after our marriage, you will allow me to do something that I ask for without questioning me. Okay, and that was asked in public. So he agreed that, okay, I accept it. And that's how the story starts. So if we see here, on wedding night, so very first night, she tells her husband, so her name is Madan Sena. Madan Sena tells her husband that I promised my lover that I will meet him after my marriage. So now allow me to go and meet him. I promise that I will come back to you and I'll spend my life with you. Because he had promised, he agreed. So she was walking, and on the way to meet her lover, now on the way, she encountered a thief who wanted to steal her jewelry. So there she narrated entire situation that, see, I'm already married. I have promised someone to meet. Please allow me to meet that person. When I come back, you can take my jewelry. So he laughed on it. He was not ready to trust. But then he was like, if at midnight she is coming back, definitely she is alone, I can take her jewelry at that time also. So she left. Finally, she met her lover. Again, she narrated everything, that this is all what happened, because her lover was not expecting her to meet. So knowing the story and the first part, that her husband allowed her to go and meet him, which was very surprising for him. He was just unable to believe the fact that how could a husband on first night allowed his wife to meet someone whom she was loving before the wedding. Finally, he said that I wanted to have you in my life, but then with this, I don't think you are mine anymore. So I request you to go back. Right? So I cannot play villain in this story. And that's how he asked Madan Sena to go back. Now, while returning, Madan Sena happened to meet the same thief. So she took out her jewelry and offered it to thief. Thief was impressed with her honesty, and because of that, thief did not take it. So now the question is, who showed the most remarkable character? The husband, the lover, the thief? This goes to all participants. So we answer and then we also give our own reasoning. There is a
Yes,
possibility that all answers can be correct.
correct. Yes. So Shweta ji is saying the thief. Satish ji, please unmute and respond.
नमस्कार सभी को।
Namaskar.
सर
Namaskar, Satish ji.
मुझे लगता है कि चोर इसमें ज्यादा अच्छा करेक्टर शो करता है, क्योंकि एक हस्बैंड को अपनी वाइफ के साथ में लाइफ स्पेंड करनी है, तो अगर विश्वास होगा तभी वो पूरी लाइफ एक साथ रह पाएंगे। और जो वो अपने प्रेमी के पास जाती है वो ऑलरेडी उससे प्रेम करता है, वो दोनों उससे इमोशनली अटैच्ड हैं, जबकि चोर के साथ ऐसा कुछ नहीं था, तो उसका करेक्टर मुझे ज्यादा अच्छा लगता है।
Okay, thank you very much, Satish ji.
Thank
Very
you, Satish
interesting
ji. Yeah.
reasoning.
बहुत ही अच्छा रिस्पॉन्स था आपका सतीश जी, धन्यवाद आपको। यस श्वेता जी,
Thank
आप
you, ma'am.
बताएंगे अपना रीजन? थैंक यू सतीश जी। श्वेता जी, आप रीजन बताइए।
Yes, ma'am. According to me, thief's nature should be to dupe, to steal, to forge. That is his basic character, But maybe because of some reason, if he decides to do the opposite, so that shows his character, according to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Shweta ji. Yes, one more. Yes, Dr. Kalpesh Parmar, please go ahead.
So, as it is mentioned that it is a traditional story and it is already told and perhaps everyone have heard too, and that is why everyone can answer easily. But the point is that what we are seeing here is the director's point of view, what director has presented to us. That whether a thief is good, a husband is good, or a lover is good, right? But what my point is that if all the three are reacting as per the goodness of their own, how could you judge that a thief is better than a lover or better than a husband?
Thank you.
Okay.
Interesting response. I think what Pradyuman sir said when he put this question to us is that there are no wrong or right answers, and probably we find that all three have shown remarkable characters in the situations that they were put in. So, for example, I was thinking about how the husband has complete faith and trust in his newly married partner. So that is the strength of his character. The lover also has the strength of character because he says, okay, I loved you at one point in time, but now you are married, so you go back to your husband. And the thief, of course, he goes against his obvious character and shows the strength of his character through his action. So yes, we can also think about it in this way. And yes, now over to Pradyuman sir. And
Yeah.
Zelam also has responded. All three have respectable characters because all three of them had three different situations and they showed their character in their respective situations. Yes.
True. True.
Yes,
So
I
if
think we are on the
we
same
have-
page.
Yeah. So if we have probably the kind of characters that we see here in this story, if we have such characters in society, probably everybody would be so honest in doing things at their part, right? That's what we understand. Now here the logic that Vikram Aditya applies is that husband and lover, so they had emotional connect with Madan Sena. And with emotional connect, they had other roles. For example, the promise was taken in public. So then husband was also thinking from that direction that because the promise was taken in public, that has to be, I have to serve to that promise. Now, the part here is what I didn't tell, that her husband followed her till end at midnight. Okay. So yes, on one side, we definitely say that he trusted her, but then still he followed her till the end, till she met uh, her lover, right? So fine, but then he trusted because it was a promise given in public, and he agreed. He was expecting definitely her to be back, but he was curious, or we may think that he might be curious that exactly who is that person, and I would like to know who that person is. Now, talking about thief. So then thief did not have any emotional connect with Madan Sena, but still he decided to not follow what his basic nature is. His basic nature is his profession, right? So thieving things is what he is doing, and he avoided doing that. So that is how Vikramaditya justified it, that probably thief is what can be considered as a most remarkable character in this situation, comparing all of them. So that's what is Vikramaditya's judgment. Okay,
Yeah, I
moving.
think two things here. Dr.
Hmm.
Kalpesh Parmar wants to come in, and I
Yeah.
also want to give in a time check, Dr. Pradyuman sir. It's 7:46.
Yeah.
So maybe we can wrap up and
Hmm.
move into the discussion part, Q&A part after this. But quickly, Dr. Kalpesh, please share your thoughts.
Sir, as we understood that a thief is a thief, right? And you want to justify the action of thief. How justifiable that is, number one. If we compare this character of thief with the Valmiki, he was Valyu Lutaro, right? Similarly, previously.
Hmm.
But he was moved by the total answers given by his wife, given by his father, and given by his son. And that is why he changed. Here we have no such any perception presented to us. Second, my point is that
Yeah.
if the scenario is presented today, that means as a man, they were having a good sort of, we can say, faith or a good sort of behavior, even though it is presented one by in public, second by in secretly or emotionally, and third by out of just good action, that what she is saying and she is performing accordingly, or she will do as she said. So if the same scenario is presented today, does men believe in women? A man is having wife, a woman is having lover and a husband. So what would be the reaction of men, today's men, sir? That is why I want to understand.
Definitely, I completely get it, Dr. Kalpesh. So what we see here is that, I mean, in this story narration or the story cycle which is going on here, it's not that I'm justifying or I am talking in behalf of, on behalf of King Vikramaditya, but what we see here in a form of a storytelling narration is that this is the reason, because the questions which come to your mind are quite natural, would come to any reader's mind who is going through this situation in a book while reading the story. But then Vikramaditya had two conditions. So one condition was that he cannot question back to Vetal, and he is supposed to be silent. If he speaks, he only has to speak the answer and nothing else. So looking at these situations, definitely he had to select one answer out of three, and that's how he was answering. But then he had to present his logic. And the character of Vikramaditya was introduced in such a way in very first story that he is kind of a noble king who does justice and who behaves in such a manner which is very beneficial for his nation and is also in favor of the society that is there existing. So that's what I said in the beginning of my session, that there are multiple stories which have similar situations but different answers. So then there also is another story where we have a female character, and there were 4 to 5 people who wanted to marry her. And that situation is presented quite differently. There is another situation where again, there is a girl who wanted to marry somebody who is not normal, so who has a unique strength or unique features. So there we come across different people with different skills, and then all skills in today's time, if we look at, are definitely important. But then from that perspective, what a girl would like to have from 11th century perspective society, that's how that story ends with a logic. And that was the reason probably I did not bring that story here. But there were similar such situations where different answers are possible. And that's what I look at it from today's point of view, that definitely first question comes to our mind is, instead of answering this question, we would question if a girl is married. If a woman is already married, why would she think of her lover at all? Right? So I completely agree with what you are telling. Fine.
So my point is that how
Dr.
dare you
Kalpesh, we will take your question in the discussion session. I have to also manage the time of the session. So let's allow Pradyuman sir to complete, and then we can go ahead for Q&A. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Kalpesh. Thank you, Nidhi. So we are not taking the fourth riddle. So this was, I think, the last story that I wanted to cover. And now what we understand here is, so different concepts that we come across here is that in every story, there is some or the other way we come across a discussion going on. In every story, we come across a question that makes us think from the cognition point of view, from the critical thinking point of view. It also helps us to understand if a certain decision is taken, what would be the consequence of it. So it's not just taking immediate decision, but how that decision would have long-term repercussions or lifetime repercussions. So these are some of the aspects which I think Vikram Vetal riddles addresses. So we understand situations from different point of view. If I teach business communication to students of BBA and MBA, and there I use different case studies. So that's where probably I see that each of these story is not just a story, but kind of a case to be studied and discussed in class, where though at that time, maybe from Vikramaditya's point of view or from 11th century society's point of view, only one answer was possible. But when we discuss this in today's class, multiple answers are possible. Similarly, when we have case studies, so it's not the only answer that we have as mentioned in the book, because cases, let's say if I'm teaching case study cases from a book which was written 5-7 years back, when AI tools were not there. So probably today we will have different answers. Similarly, earlier I was teaching from a book which was published in 2008. So then situations which were there in 2008 and situations that we have today are quite different. So then some options probably which were not available earlier are now available. Options in form of solving the problem, in form of technology, in form of broad thinking, many other ways. So it's on us that how we bring these things to class, or maybe we be selective. Instead of all 25 stories, we select some and we discuss them in class. And that's how we introduce students to Indian logic of that time, Indian way of thinking, and how metacognition was done, thinking about societal's point of view, religious point of view, ethical point of view, and how we can address them in class. So I think with this, I would end my today's discussion. session, and we are open for discussion.
Great. Thank you so much, Pradyuman sir. First of all, knowing that you have such a super busy, super hectic schedule, and yet you have managed to talk about the Betal Pachisi tradition as part of this session. It's been very, very interesting. And what we have done in the first week was just to get a very broad overview of Bharatiya storytelling. And in the second week, we have been able to explore some very specific storytelling traditions, like Dr. Pinku spoke of the retellings of the Mahabharata. Yesterday, I spoke of a storytelling tradition from the central eastern belt of Gujarat. Today, we have spoken about Betal Pachisi, and you have also brought in very interesting pedagogical tools and techniques that can be used by educators in the classroom. So I'd like to extend a very heartfelt thanks to you for doing this session, and we look forward to your continuing research on this aspect, as you have shared with us that you are going to delve into the other aspects of this storytelling tradition in the future as well. So I'm sure this can be quite an extended project, maybe a research paper or a book or a course that can be explored as part of the larger pursuits of Indian knowledge systems. So with this, I invite participants to ask their questions, share their insights and comments. We can, I think, spend about 10 minutes for the same. You can either post your questions in the chat box, or you can just raise your hand and unmute yourself and ask your question. So yes, who'd like to go first? Yes, Dr. Kalpesh, go ahead.
It is quite interesting, but my point is that we were having as a man open mind as we understand the story. Just we take account of that particular story, sir, as you have just mentioned, that a husband doesn't mind a wife is having a lover, right? A lover have equally don't mind that she marries to someone else. If that scenario, that means an open mind can be there. But what is today's scenario? What we understood today's point of view, sir? Are men orthodox today's time than the ancient time we were having? This is what I was asking, sir. It is just a different sort of question. I am asking this just because I have just seen one web series recently, just comes up on Geo Hotstar, Chiraiya, a very excellent web series. 6 episodes are there, and in that particular web series, a question is raised that if a woman marries to a man, she is a wife, then her consent is necessary or not? It is purely from the point of view of physical relationship. But if she says no, then it is a no. There is no other word is required for that. No is enough to say no. But still, story moves on, and issues are presented. Similarly, this particular web story also explored the 2024 High Court or Supreme Court's judgment too, that in marriage, women consent should not be considered. This is how it is presented, that this type of relationship are quite natural. Whether she say yes or no, it should be there. That was the judgment presented to that. And just to counter that particular concept, that marriage is a different thing and consent for relationship is a different thing. So that is why I asked this question, that are we more orthodox or are we open today? Open-minded as a man, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kalpesh. What I would say is that definitely the easy escape is to answer it that it depends on individual. But what we see here, if I relate it to the story again, though it's debatable, I agree. What we see here is that there are multiple ifs and buts associated. What if she was going to meet her lover to say that everything is over now, it's final between us, and let's end it here. What if her parents, when they decided कि अब तुम्हारी शादी यहाँ होगी and you are not allowed to meet anybody? So we see such situations. So what if she could not meet her lover to say final goodbye, and probably she found a situation where she could discuss this with her husband and go and talk to her lover to say final goodbye, that our relation ends here. I am into a new journey now. So this is also possible if I think from that perspective, that what could be, right?
Sir, I
Definitely.
would like to say something that, in short, one can say that I'm Dr. Tayyaba Nazli.
Yes,
Uh,
please.
I would like to add that one should not be judgmental. That's all.
Right.
Everybody acts according to the situation, and unless and until we know the background, we cannot simply pass judgments and decide that if so and so is done, it is because of this and that. So we just have to not be judgmental. That's what the requirement of the day also. This is what our society is talking even presently, that you can't be judgmental at all. So we don't know the real situation, so we can't comment. That's all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tayyaba. Very
Thank you.
true and relevant for today's time, definitely. So it's like we have to be patient listener, allowing the person who did something or who has taken some action, why behind the action or story behind the action is what helps us to understand it in a more relevant manner.
Correct. Thank you, Pradyuman sir, for that response. I'd like to take the next question by Shweta Paliwalji. She's she said that there's a book by Devdutt Patnaik on business sutras. Would you recommend it for teaching business communication to management students? If not, please suggest a good book by an Indian author.
Okay, thank you, Shwetaji. First of all, I haven't read this book, but thank you for sharing it with me. I will try to go through this book in next semester break, so I can decide what is to be done with this. Second, I think it's been 2 years I have stopped referring to books as textbooks. I have been referring to multiple online resources, multiple research papers, and I'm teaching from them. Because earlier was the time when, let's say, my father did something, the things were changing slowly. So probably after 10 years, after 15 years, I see change, or we see change in society. And that's what we call generation gap. But in these times, I see generation gap between two brothers, two siblings, right? So who would hardly have a difference of 4 or 5 years, they would also have generation gap. It's quite similar to something like I purchased mobile today and tomorrow there are new models in market and I feel like shayad maine wo liya hota, right? So because of that, I have stopped referring to books as textbooks. Instead, I refer to a lot of ongoing things and we try to make that as a part of our classroom discussion. So maybe we identify themes and topics, for example, storytelling for business. But then for that, I do not refer specific book. But then I bring in such situations in classroom where I ask students to select a brand and how that brand storytelling changed over the time. So that's what they work on, though there would be definitely some theoretical grounding with it. So this is what I do. So that we have stopped referring to typical business reports, business letters, business proposals, because these are such things which can easily be done using AI tools. But then something where they can explore and do something by themselves is what we are working more on. So maybe you can also try such things. But thank you for sharing this book. I will definitely read it.
Thank you for throwing light on the material that you are using in your business communication classes. And Shweta ji is requesting that if you could share some links for such research papers, If not immediately, we can probably compile it with the reading material that we are planning to share with the participants. So you will receive some links, Shweta ji, as part of the reading material. And I think Dr. Kapil Bhatia, in the first edition of the IKS certificate course that NLD did, he did an interesting session on management lessons from the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. I'd like to recommend that session. Participants can go to NLT's YouTube channel, and I have been emphasizing that please explore the minefield of knowledge that NLD's YouTube channel carries, and it's a repository of such interesting lectures from a diverse array of resource persons on diverse themes. So I will be happy to share the link of that lecture. And I think, Shweta ji, there is a lot of interesting work that is already happening in terms of uh, management teaching in the Bharatiya perspective. If you are interested, there is a WhatsApp group, Re-Emergence of Bharatiya Management, in which the stalwarts of management studies are there: Professor Bhavuk, Professor Ashish Pandey, Professor Rajan Gupta. They are members of the group, and they keep recommending interesting reading material for teaching management from a Bharatiya perspective. So you can please get in touch with me for the same. But I'm quickly posting the link of NLD's YouTube channel. We have an IKS playlist, and all the participants are requested to go through the playlist as and when it's convenient to them. So thank you so much. There's a comment by Zelam. Zelam, do you want to quickly unmute and comment?
Ma'am, there is a lot of technical glitch here due to because I'm not at home right now, so there will be a disturbance. I'm in an open space right now, so that's the reason I have put the the comment there. But I enjoyed the session, and I really we have been reading Vikram Vetal stories since childhood, but the perspective that Pradyuman sir brought, it was amazing. I mean, it gave me the way of thinking from a very different angle altogether while even reading the story. So from next time, whenever I do this, the critical thinking part will definitely be there whenever I read the stories to think from all the perspectives. Thank you so much, Pratyuman sir.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Salem, for your feedback.
Thank you, Zelam. And Pradyuman sir, you can read Zelam's elaborate comment in the chat box, and she's going to be the closing resource person, the final resource person for this certificate course. And I'm sure we are going to have a very thorough, interesting, and engaging session tomorrow. Satish ji also is saying that it was a very interesting and thought-provoking session, and Swayam ji is also saying the same. In fact, Swayam ji did make a comment. Swayam ji has been sharing very interesting perspectives of storytelling from Odisha through all the sessions, and she did mention Shri Manoj Das writing in both Odia and English. So we can probably look up his work. And I also endorse Arpit ji's comment in the chat box that one should avoid reading Devdutt Patnaik. Thank you for writing that, Arpit ji. I'm also of the same viewpoint. Of course, this may just be discounted as a personal opinion, but I also endorse the fact that the kind of work that he does is not Indic oriented, and it's quite misleading and misrepresenting at many times. But yeah, thank you for pointing that out, Arpit ji. But yeah, it's a free world, so please feel free to explore whosoever's work you want. Okay, so which book collection to buy? Many children fiction books available. I think Pratham Books, Pradyuman sir, I have come across Pratham Books, which is doing some great work in children's publishing. I also have I don't recall the publisher's name right now, but if I can check and get back, I will. But Pratham Books is something that came to my mind immediately. And if Arpit ji, you are interested in exploring stories from a visual point of view. If you are interested in visual storytelling from an Indic perspective, then you can look up Prachyam, their website, as well as a YouTube channel. It's an OTT platform that runs and produces content from a Bharatiya perspective, but definitely Pratham Books and some other platforms that I can recommend in the due course of time, I will do so. Great. So I think we are moving towards the closure of the session. So thank you everyone for participating actively in a very engaged manner, in a very thoughtful manner, bringing in different points of views and opinions, especially on the stories and the riddles that Pradyuman sir has shared in his session. And the riddle part I found extremely interesting and very useful that can be immediately transported to the classroom situation. I mean, through riddles, we can make topics and concepts of Bharatiya philosophy and Bharatiya traditions interesting for students. So thanks to all the participants for joining in diligently for each session, participating actively and constructively, and not just sharing your knowledge with us, but sharing it together, putting it together as a cohort. So thank you so much. And once again, I extend thanks to Pradyuman sir. I know that we don't need to thank him, as he's part of, he's one of our own, part of the team steering, the wheel steering the ship. So thank you so much. And we wish you the best for your further research in this area, and look forward to more such sessions from your end in further programs at NLD. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Nidhi. Thank you all participants. So I think with this we call it a day.
Yes, we call it a day, but with a gentle reminder and a nudge to everyone that tomorrow is the final session of the certificate course, and we would request everyone to not miss that session by Zalem. So see you all tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. for the last session. Namaste.
Yeah, and tomorrow,
Please.
just to add to the ma'am's comment, there will be a
Yeah.
Sutradhar who will be telling you through the storytelling session. In tomorrow's session that is scheduled, I'll be putting up a Sutradhar also. So it will be very interesting to have an interactive conversational style of a session, and you will definitely enjoy all the process that will be there. So live storytelling will be there. So please be tuned for tomorrow's session.